Now, I'm going to recall an incident that took place in my Spanish classroom years ago. I assigned the students to give an oral presentation in front of the class that was 3 to 5 minutes in length. Well, one young man got up and stood behind the lectern where I typically started the class and began to say in Spanish the things that I said at the beginning of a class. Greetings, friends. Thank you once again today for joining us. And I pray that all is going well with you. Fall is finally setting in, I think. Anyway, our talk today is about our walk. And the opening verse is from 1 John, and it says, "Whoever says that he abides in him, in Jesus, ought to walk in the same way as he walked." Now, I'm going to recall an incident that took place in my Spanish classroom years ago. I assigned the students to give an oral presentation in front of the class that was 3 to 5 minutes in length. Well, one young man got up and stood behind the lectern where I typically started the class and began to say in Spanish the things that I said at the beginning of a class. And so that brought a few snickers. And well, I need to stop here and tell you that when I taught class, I was typically a teacher that moved around in the classroom, circulated. So, as he finished his opening comments, he stepped out from behind the lectern and started to move towards the first row, and he tripped over the leg of the lectern. Well, that brought uproarious laughter, and none was louder than my laughter, because that's exactly what I was notorious for doing, tripping over something. And he was walking like I walked, and he stumbled. Well, dear ones, maybe there's a lesson for us spiritually in all of this. We are to walk as Jesus walked, we saw in our verse. How did Jesus walk? Well, he walked in total dependence on his Father, and he did always did the things that pleased the Father. And we're to walk like Jesus walked. In Romans, it tells us that let us decide never to put a stumbling block or a hindrance in the way of a brother. How we conduct ourselves, the things that we do, the things that we say, our way of life, which is our walk, is important not only for our own selves, but for others who are watching us. And trust me, others are watching us. Never put a stumbling block or a hindrance in the way of a brother or a sister. Now, I know that verse is talking about, in that context, is talking about the food that we eat and things that we drink. But I think the application applies. And then from Ephesians it says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise." We're to look carefully about how we live our life in front of others and by ourselves. And it's important that we do what Jesus did, follow in his steps. Remember, he always did the things that pleased the Father. He always said what he heard the Father saying. He always did what he saw the Father doing. And now we're called upon to follow Jesus, keeping our eyes on him, walking in his footsteps, as it were. And if we do that, and when we do that, we're much less likely to stumble ourselves and much less likely to cause someone else to stumble. Well, I trust there's been something for you there today, and I thank you again for tuning in. Thank you to those who are sharing. Continue to do so. We invite your comments, and we thank you for those as well. And so until we see you next time, the Lord bless and keep you safe. So long.